Okay, welcome everyone to another edition of Unstoppable REI. I almost forgot what I was going to say. I'm so excited because I am with January Scorsese. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right,
Perfect.
nice. So she and I were just talking about the fact that I was born in January. She was born in January. I thought I was maybe she was the only January that she met. She told me about the story of another January, which you could tell me. And then you said your cousin? That was your cousin is okay, the producer.
The director, yeah,
The
Martin.
director. What's the difference between a producer and a director?
Well, he does produce a lot of things also, but I'm going to assume the producer is the one that kind of fronts the money, and the
Oh,
director is the ones that call the shots.
okay. What a cool name, January
Thank you.
Scorsese. Man, okay, cool. So do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister named Sam who's actually here with my dad for the holidays. I'm
Oh,
super
nice.
excited. And then I have
Nice.
a younger sister and brother, Julie and Anthony. Yeah,
Okay. Cool. Cool. So do you watch your cousin's movies?
of course I do. I have
Everybody
to.
does, right? Yeah, everybody does. That is the
Uh-huh.
craziest thing. So you're famous. I don't know.
No,
You're not
no,
famous?
he's famous.
Okay. All right. Say, hey, well, my cousin is, getting into movies for free and stuff. Anyway, I'm way off our script here. But anyway, so I appreciate you joining me today. So I'm gonna just jump right in. And I know you are an investor, you're an agent too, right? Or it's a broker?
Yeah, so I'm a licensed realtor.
Okay, cool. All
Hmm.
right. So we'll get into all. So that's you have a lot of different things that you do in the real estate space. So I want to make sure we address all those things.
Okay.
And so cool. All right. So why don't you just start by just sort of telling me your story, your 30-second elevator pitch. It could be longer than 30 seconds, but just how'd you get your start and kind of tell me about yourself?
Okay. I have to admit, I'm a little bit new in the real estate world, especially in investing. It's been
Okay.
my career of choice that I've wanted to forever.
Okay.
But as life has it, you go different routes. So I
Sure.
actually started off as a social worker in New York, and I did that for about 17 years.
Okay.
I did crisis intervention management specialist
Wow.
over there. Then
Okay.
I moved down to Florida, and again, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get into real estate. I'm moving to Florida. Everybody's moving to Florida.
Right.
So came down here and I became a teacher. So for about 7 years, I was teaching, and then COVID happened. And my brother is a real estate agent in New York.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was like,
Nice.
now is your opportunity to take the class and do what you got to do. And he was like, it's the perfect time, perfect market. Like,
Okay.
buckle up and take the class.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll do that. And then everyone started this wholesaling business.
Gotcha.
So it became very popular, and you didn't have to worry about having to get a license and
Yeah.
paying all these dues. And I said, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll go that route, get my feet wet. And I joined several amazing groups.
Okay.
I met a lot of investors. I met a lot of other wholesalers. I partnered up with one company who was great at mentoring me, and a lot where I found that a lot of wholesalers were having problems was really accessing the MLS, because those were meant for agents and brokers.
Yeah.
And they were having a hard time finding agent friendly and broker friendly, um, investor friendly places to work. So I
Okay.
said, but now I'm going to actually buckle up and finish and take that class. And I'm so happy I did. I got my license several months ago. I
Okay.
onboarded with a broker.
Nice.
One of the requirements that I had was that broker had to be investor friendly.
Gotcha.
So I have a great rapport with them.
Okay.
We do off market deals.
Nice.
We have on market deals, just like every other brokerage and every other real estate agency out there. And yeah, so that's really what we do right now. I have a Facebook page. It's called Boots on the Ground.
Yes.
And my goal there is to connect agents and investors and all of their networking and marketing needs into one place.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So we have that in common. I started off as a real estate agent, became a broker, but that was way back. I mean, ancient times. I always say it was ancient because at that time, the MLS, the computerized version of the MLS was optional. Most people use the books. So I don't know if you have anybody in your family that goes back to real estate back that far, but
No.
yeah, that's a while ago. So boots on the ground. So you want to tell me a little bit about that? I mean, how do you, well, tell me just about how that works. I mean, you can kind of sort of tell what it is based on the name, but tell me a little bit about it.
All right. So a lot of times, especially in wholesaler and cash deals, where everything is remote.
Yeah,
And with the whole COVID world, everyone DocuSign, you could do everything online.
right.
So now they're expanding into different states.
Okay.
So one of my, I travel a lot. I love one of my hobbies. I on my Instagram is hiking one realtor. Like
Wow.
I just love going everywhere I can. So I'm on the
Okay.
road a lot, do a lot of road trips. So it started off with people that needed boots on the ground, is what you call it when you have a real estate need,
Yeah,
and maybe you need to take pictures of a
sure.
property, maybe meet somebody to show the property, whatever it is that you need.
Right.
And so I would do that. I would just say, oh, okay, I'm in Florida. I live in the Tampa area, but I go all over. So, I'm going to be hiking in Fort Lauderdale, or I'm going to go kayaking in, Naples. So
Yeah.
I'd put down my whereabouts.
Okay.
And if you had a property that needed some boots on the ground, whatever that need was, I'd put my location there and we'd network and then we'd go from there.
Nice.
And so I
Nice.
started to open up to other people who might be drivers, whether they do like
Okay.
Uber or Lyft, deliveries, whatever it is. So I opened that up to drivers and to more investors and real estate agents.
Okay. So so what role do you play most often? I mean, is it the boots on the ground? Is it the real estate agent, or is it investor, or some combination of those?
Oh, real estate agent. Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Real
that's
estate
your
agent.
main
Mhm.
thing. Got it. But
Yes.
you
Boots on
connect
the
with,
ground is a networking page that I
I
created.
see.
Mhm.
Got it.
And
Okay.
it's not something that I mean, yeah, I run it, but it's not like I don't put out content or anything
I
like
see.
that. It's everybody can post their whereabouts,
Got
and then
it.
everyone can then just say, okay, I need you at this place, that location. I need
Got it.
pictures. I need a
Sure.
showing.
So it's
Hmm.
a networking thing. That's really cool. That's a really, really
Thanks.
innovative way to do that. So what do you wish that you would have known when you started your career?
To not be afraid.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Um, Well, all right. So as a social worker and as a teacher, you
Yeah.
build rapport with people. So
Sure.
building rapport is comes natural to me.
Okay.
Being salesy does not come
Okay.
natural
All right.
because you take that empathetic role.
Sure.
And so when I had to switch my mindset, I had to realize I'm actually not bothering people. They want this service.
Yeah.
They need this property. They want that house. I'm not bothering you if you have an interest and I call you back to meet your need.
Yeah.
And prior to that, I was afraid that I seemed salesy,
Okay.
and that wasn't in my nature. And I wish I would have known before that that's what's necessary.
That salesy, being salesy is necessary.
Know that push of, hey, I'm here to help you. Hey, I'm going
Gotcha.
to make that phone call. Hey, I'm here for you. Where I felt like making those extra phone calls, or,
Hmm.
hey, do you have an update? I felt like that was a pushy, salesy thing, but it's actually necessary. And
Sure.
that's the service that you provide. And so I had
Sure.
to shift my mindset of
Yeah.
that.
It's interesting. You use the word mindset. So I have been reading recently read several books about mindset and about beliefs, and it's interesting how that how critical that is to your
Hmm.
success, and to how successful you are going to be, or whether you're successful at all, is kind of how you think about it. And anyway, that's interesting. So what would you say is maybe your biggest failure? And I know everybody has sort of a different view on, I don't fail, it's fail forward and all that stuff, but I mean, what would you say is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that?
My biggest failure was being afraid of what other people thought of me,
Okay.
and not really being my authentic self. I always wanted to appear to be, that role when you have, like, okay, as a teacher, okay, I'm putting on this hat. Now I have this role. And then now I'm stepping into this world of investors and,
Yeah.
and it's a totally different world. And to step into that role again, it's like, oh, do they see me as the teacher? Do they like what? So it was just kind of my biggest failure was being afraid and not taking the leap soon enough.
Gotcha.
not trusting myself in this role,
Sure.
not you know, not having that confidence in the beginning to be able to say, I can do this.
Sure.
Now, what I learned about that is who cares what other people think? When
Right.
you are your authentic self, people see that and they
Yeah.
gravitate to
Sure.
you.
They do.
And I find like when you care less about what other people might think about you,
Right.
then there's the connection that just comes naturally.
Right. What's interesting about that is that so a lot of what I have done is, well, I'm sort of specialize in marketing for real estate investors. So I write copy. I'm a copywriter for real estate investors, but I also
Okay.
invest myself. And when I'm helping real estate investors, one of the biggest issues that I see with them, and even from the real estate agents, I mean, I think real estate in general,
Hmm.
is everyone is like everybody else. You know what I mean? They want to, to see what marketing people do, and they're like, hey, well, I'll do that marketing. I'll cold call. I'll do this. I'll do that. And being your authentic self is so powerful, and it's a marketing advantage. You know what I mean? It's like, because you
Right.
can't, I used to think, well, hey, you know what? I can't screw that up. If I just be myself, I can't mess it up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so, but that, I mean, that is key. And I think it's simple, but a lot of people miss that because they want to be like everybody else. You just be yourself, and it's key. So what advice would you give? By the way, from the real estate perspective, as an agent, do you focus on helping real estate investors? Is that kind of your niche?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So, and why did you choose to do that, to work with real estate investors? It's a smart idea, by the way.
I feel down here, that's kind of the shift in this market.
Okay,
I'm in Tampa. Land is going up. Uh,
okay,
Small little bungalows are coming down. Bigger homes are coming up, and
okay,
it is an investor's market.
okay.
And like I said, when I was working on the wholesale side,
Yeah,
they weren't able to find the properties, they weren't able to get the deals, and
yeah,
investors were having problems and issues trying to find legitimate ways of, finding the properties.
yeah, yeah.
And so I made that my goal.
Nice.
I
Okay,
saw that opportunity.
okay.
I I saw that there was a need, and I was like, I'm gonna fill that need.
Sure. Solve that problem. So as a real estate investor, and obviously this is going out to most to real estate investors primarily. What are some of the things that make you unique? Why should we, as investors, use you? Now, the boots on the ground thing is absolutely brilliant. I'm telling you now, you probably already know that. But what are some of the reasons why someone should use you? I mean, as a real estate investor, why would somebody want to use you or work with you?
I think I come from a large, diverse background.
Okay.
So I'm not just I'm not just your typical salesperson.
Yeah.
I am also empathetic to other people's needs and what it is that they want. And I'm also not looking for that next deal, that next transaction. I'm going to make sure that it's legit. I'm going to make sure that it's solving a problem. I'm going to make
Right.
sure that also you see the bigger picture and the bigger goal. Because
Yeah.
at the end of it, business is business.
Right.
But that business started as someone's dream.
Sure. Totally.
And I want to see that through.
Okay. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that you see investors making when they're doing, I mean, just in their business? I mean, that you come in and maybe can help them to solve. What do you see them doing?
I feel some newbies might not understand some of the numbers and
Okay.
they get excited.
Yeah.
Market came, sold a lot of properties, have a lot of cash, not a
Yeah.
lot of knowledge. So
Yeah.
they can make some big mistakes that way.
Okay.
Um, and I have a broker that is very knowledgeable. And I think since I'm also slightly new in the area,
Yeah.
I have someone that I can go to that has been in the business for over 20 years.
Sure. Sure.
And that sets us apart from everybody else.
Totally. I mean, you're a team. You can leverage that knowledge and experience, and
Yes.
that's cool. So, what resources have helped you along the way? If you had to name maybe your top two, three resources.
So I belong to GTAR. It's the Greater Tampa Realtors, and they have so many free resources. They
Okay.
really want their their agents and brokers to succeed down here.
Okay.
And so I've been taking a lot of just classes. They have one-on-one mentorship,
Nice.
and they have in-person, online. Those have been my biggest help and support. And
Okay.
then my mentorship with my broker. He's great. He also has other agents and other lenders that even come and give us training and tips, and they have been my biggest support.
Okay. What about any other resources that you think are good? Or is that
That I don't know.
oh, would that be the best ones? I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
that's fine. What about like mentors? Do you have like any people that like coaches or any who has been super influential for you in your business?
When I first started, I joined this company, BotFox,
Huh.
and they were uh, they were great. Kyle Rogers did all these one-on-one Zooms. He got us going, and I see there, and that's how my interest started, and that's
Mm,
how, boots on the ground started. That's
okay.
where I got in touch with all of these investors and
Okay.
builders, and so they were great. Yeah, they were great at building us all up.
Sure. Sure. Now you're in what part of Florida?
Tampa.
Tampa. Okay. The reason why I ask is because I'm in Minnesota. I don't know if I mentioned that. And I don't know if you know what the temperature is in Minnesota right now, but it is below zero. So anytime I talk to
Yes.
somebody that is in a warmer climate, I always try to key in on, okay, where are you? Well, because we're sort of, my wife and I mean, our kids are grown now, and so we're sort of hovering above empty nester. So we're
Hmm.
looking for, a warmer place to go. Now, the alligators, is that really a concern in Florida, or is that just sort of a
It is.
stereotype?
I
Is the
mean,
concern really?
it okay.
I'm gonna give it to you
I
straight
have
now.
never come face to face with an alligator.
Okay.
Okay. Never.
All right.
However, I go kayaking all the time.
Oh boy.
And if you don't know where you are and you don't know what you're doing, they will come up on you. And I have friends that have told me, "Oh yeah, you just take the oar and you just kind of move it away. Just push the alligator away." I
Oh
go,
my goodness.
"I am so happy I have not ever come face to face with an alligator." Listen, I'm from New York. I don't
Yeah,
think I can handle the street. I can't handle an alligator.
that's a lot. The alligators, it's funny because I get different answers from people about alligators that are in Florida. I mean, some people say, "Oh my gosh, I've been here for 10 years. I've never seen alligators." Other people say, "Hey, they're like squirrels. They're everywhere." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's like I'm thinking Florida might be off the list. I don't know. We'll have to see. But anyway, do you like to read?
I do. I
Do you?
do.
So
I
what
do.
what do you have any good books that you can recommend? What are you reading right now? You reading anything? Or do you do audio, like audible?
I'll listen sometimes. Actually, I am a big fan of Clubhouse.
Okay. No,
I know.
I
So
don't think I've okay. I think I might have saw that. That's an app, right?
it is. It
Okay.
is. And you can listen to recordings or you can listen to their live rooms, they call them.
Okay.
So I'm on Clubhouse all the time.
Okay.
And sometimes just spiritual manifestation, yoga,
Sure. Sure.
meditation. And other times I'm listening to real estate, and the next best hiking trail.
Okay.
You know, I will tell you, I listened to, and I wish I can give you a name. I was in my car, and it was a recording of a recording.
Okay.
So I I can't even tell you the person who said this, but he took such a different spin on Tony Robbins. So I love
Ah,
Tony
I
Robbins,
do
and
too.
I've seen him in person. He gets you up
Nice.
and jumping, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and just he's so fiery and positive and great. And this guy almost took like a dark turn on Tony Robbins, but
Really?
made so much sense.
Okay.
And he said, people don't grow in comfort.
That's
When you're
truth.
comfortable with your health, you don't strive to
Yeah.
be thinner or, at your best weight or bulkier or try to lift. You're comfortable with your health. You're
Sure.
comfortable where you're at. When you're comfortable with your finances, you're not looking to increase your net worth. So he said, it's out of fear and desperation
Hmm.
that change happens. And that's when we grow. And he said, what we obsess, we possess.
Wow.
And
Nice.
that stuck with me. Because,
Yeah.
I always say, oh, what you think about, you bring about.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of what Tony Robbins is, but he
Okay.
was like, what we obsess, we possess.
Okay.
And the more work and the more effort you put into something, the better you're going to be at it. And
Totally.
the better. And that's my thing. Like, I just want to be 1% better than what I was yesterday.
Yeah.
If I ran a mile, I want to run 2, or
Yeah.
I want to run 1.1 miles,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And you know
and
what's cool about that is that that's attainable. You know what I mean? It's like just do one more thing, just do a little bit more. But then at the end of the week or 2 weeks, I mean, you've progressed. If you look back on all the stuff you've done, I mean,
mhm.
you made some progress. Now, do you think that I mean, what you obsessed, you'll possess is completely different than Tony? I mean, I think that's what he talked about. Don't you
Right,
think?
and that's what it's very similar, but he took such a darker turn.
Oh, I see.
Because like Tony is very positive, and
Yeah.
he's, positive thinking, and
Okay.
we're not looking at the bad, and
I
we're,
see what you're
we're
saying.
where
Sure.
he was like, no, like,
You need to look
you
at it.
got to be uncomfortable, you got to be
Yeah.
desperate, and you got to be afraid. You got to be able to not pay that next bill, and out of desperation and fear, you
Yeah.
need to make sure you work extra and go and so it wasn't like where Tony's like, what you think about, you bring about,
Sure. It's
where
not the
he's
positive
like,
side, it's a little bit negative side. But you know something?
right,
First of all, do you agree with that?
do.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think that you are I mean, I always know that you can't grow without being uncomfortable. And I mean, we've all experienced that. And I mean, everybody wants the result. You want to be at, you know what I mean? You want to have the six-pack abs, which I don't have, but you want to have all this stuff, but you got to be willing to go through it to get it. And nobody enjoys the process. Somebody else is that's a good person that's along that line is David Goggins. Have you ever heard that name?
No.
Goggins. Okay. So you should look him up. He's like he was he was in the Marines, and he was like well, actually no, maybe it was the Navy. It was the elite group, like the SEALs, and he went through SEAL training like a bunch of times, and he does these ultra marathons where you run like 200 miles. It's like overnight you're running 24 hours and all this stuff. Anyway, but he talks
Mhm.
about that. Do one thing every day that you hate, and it's like because you want to toughen up your mind. Anyway, he's a really good person, and based on what you're saying, I think you'll like him. But what do you think is a myth that in real estate investing that you could debunk? One myth.
That you're always going to make your money back.
Okay, there's a story behind that. All right, tell me about that.
Sometimes you do have to see the risk, and you have to understand the benefit and the value of failing, and you need to learn from that to make sure that you do not do that again.
Yes,
But a lot of people, they see a change in the market, and not every property is worth their value,
totally.
and not every vacant land is buildable, and
Yeah,
not
yeah,
and so I think a lot of people, a lot of younger investors, and I
yeah,
don't mean age wise,
yeah,
just
yeah.
experience wise, a lot of younger investors right now just believe, especially here in Florida, that everything is just going to make its money back.
I see.
And
Everything is a
while
deal.
I
Yeah,
would love that to be true,
yeah. It's not.
it's not 100%,
Yeah.
and so to really do your due diligence and to really do your homework.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, all right, January, I'm an investor. I'm meeting with you, or somebody recommended to you. How do we start? How do you start working with me as an investor? So, what's your process? Can you kind of walk me through what you do to kind of get us going?
Sure. So first things first, I would ask your criteria. So
Okay.
what is it that you're exactly looking for? What is it that are your definite I need this? And what is your definite do not send me anything like
Okay.
this? Go from there. So
Okay.
then you can do some searches depending on if you want on market, off market, and depending on the area would be where I would start those searches.
Okay.
And a lot of investors, obviously, we go through underwriting process. So I'll send maybe 10 properties,
Hmm.
15 properties. We'll
Okay.
comb through those. What is it that you liked? What you didn't like? And then
Okay.
we'll comb through another couple of properties. And then after that, really it goes through underwriting, and then we go further.
Okay. Nice. Do you work with investors? So you work in other states other than Florida, or you just work in Florida?
I work with Florida properties, but I work with investors that are all over the place.
Got it. Okay, cool. So, so if you were me on the other side of this computer here and asking the questions, I mean, what would you ask? I mean, what am I not asking that you want people to know about you? I just like saying your name, but I'm not gonna keep saying it. Go ahead.
Okay, maybe, you brought up the name. So where'd you
Yeah.
get your name from?
Okay.
And I have to say that my name really did determine a lot of my personality.
Okay.
So my dad is a yeah, and my mom is a disco queen,
Okay. I didn't hear your dad. You cut
and
off when you said that. Your dad is a what?
my dad is a hippie,
Oh, okay.
and my mom is a disco queen.
Nice. All right.
And I said my mom read a book. The main character's name was January, and she was going to name her first daughter January, no matter what. And my
Yeah.
dad said, "Can we really name our daughter January?"
Yeah.
But when you say my name, everyone smiles. So people would greet me ever since I was a baby and say January. So I'm
Wow.
always
That's
greeted
cool.
with a smile since I was a baby. And I think that has shaped my personality in the long run.
Okay.
And I always have a smile on my face. I'm always excited to see the next person. I'm always doing the next best thing. And I think a lot of that had to do with my name. So
Nice. That's really cool. So, how can people reach out to you? I've got one more question to ask before I ask that question. Tell me, how can people connect with you? What's the best way to reach you?
you can reach me email. It would
Okay.
be January, my name, at mkarealty.com. So JANUARIE at mkarealty.com.
Perfect. I'm glad you spelled that because I would have thought it would have been just like the month. So it's pronounced like the month, but it's spelled
Mhm.
different. And by the way, when you first told me that you were from New York, I didn't hear the accent, but I started hearing a couple words there. New York is like the coolest accent in the world. I think
Thanks.
yeah, that's really cool. But anyway, okay,
I've
so
been
here,
down here for about 7 years, and like I said before, I was a teacher, and I did fourth grade.
yeah.
So we read this book, and it's called Love That Dog, and the little girl goes, "What's a dog?" I go, "What do you mean? It's a cat, a dog, a cat and a dog. What do you mean?"
Is
I
that
go,
right?
"Oh, it's
That
a
is hilarious.
dog."
That's
So yeah.
hilarious. So the only other place that I think has a cool accent like New York doesn't top that, but it's is New Orleans. That's where I'm from, New Orleans. Have you been there?
I
Okay.
have.
Do you know the accent I'm talking about? This is how we
Yes.
got to talk. I,
Yes.
I love it. I was born there, but I grew up in Minnesota. So my first real experience with Louisiana was when I went to school. I went to college, but
Hmm.
I wanted to learn. I wanted to talk like them and everything. But I didn't because I grew up in the north. Part of the country. But anyway, cool accent. So here's my last question for you. So, um, if you Google the term real estate investor failure rate, okay, you'll see that 95% of real estate investors fail. It's interesting. A lot of people they think that I'm just making up that number, but if you Google that, you'll see it's huge. It's crazy. So a lot of us fail. And so I started this podcast because I wanted to talk to the top 5% in the real estate industry, investors or people that offer products and services in that industry. Because I wanted to find out, what did you do to be successful in an industry that had such a huge failure rate? So that's kind of the premise behind the show and the podcast. So I have two questions for you. I want to know, number one, your definition of unstoppable. So I forgot to mention, obviously, this show is called Unstoppable REI because I wanted to talk to people that have made themselves unstoppable, which you can do that in a lot of different ways, right? But so
Hmm.
how do you define unstoppable? What does that mean to you? And what are you doing to make yourself unstoppable where you are in your industry?
Okay. So unstoppable to me is never ending and always achieving the next.
Hmm, nice.
And the way that I become unstoppable is I do something 1% better than what I did the day before. And
Yeah,
I
you said
like
that.
going back to like I make sure if I'm going to the gym
Yeah.
for my one class, I'm going to stay there and do another set.
Wow.
If if I did 10 minutes of meditation one day, I'm going to make sure that next week I do 15.
Nice. Okay.
Like I said, if I made 20 calls one day, I'm going to make sure I do 26 the following day. I'm going to make sure I do 30 the day after,
Sure.
because you can't be stopped when you continuously keep moving forward.
I love that. You know, that makes me think of that. You hear that when people say, "Hey, do you want a penny a day, doubled every day for 30 days, or do you want $1 million?" Have you ever heard that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's crazy.
Hmm.
So what you're talking about is sort of like have a compound effect. I mean, it's like
Hmm.
you're just doing a little bit, little bit, little bit, but it's not just 1%. I mean, it's the 1% plus added to whatever else. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
compounding. I love
Yeah.
that. I've never heard that defined that way before. I love that. Well, January Scorsese. This has been great. You know what? Please send me the links to your I mean the what am I trying to say? Your group.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So that we and
Hmm.
also your contact info so I can put it in the comments. But I appreciate your time. And I'm glad we've been hustling trying to get together, and I'm glad that we were able to connect up here. And
Thank you.
every time I'm gonna get out I'm gonna look up all the Martin Scorsese movies. So tell me which ones there again. So it's Goodfellas, what other ones?
Departed,
Okay, Departed, okay.
Casino.
Casino.
Hmm.
So they're all
Hmm.
mob movies. Departed is not mob, right?
Oh yeah, it is.
Is
Well,
it?
cop movie. Cop movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Departed. Who's in that one?
And I always want to say Marky Mark, but and Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert
Oh,
De Niro,
oh, I know. Okay.
Mark
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wahlberg.
yeah, yeah.
I always say Marky
Wahlberg.
Mark. My
Well, he
kids make
was
fun of me. He's not
he,
Marky Mark anymore.
well anymore, but he was. He was that
Right,
way. You know what I mean? So it's like
right.
that's who he is to me, you know. That's incredible. And it's really interesting how he just totally changed and took a whole new, I mean, he's a whole new the person than back
Yeah,
then. And
yeah.
it's crazy. But anyway, so I'm gonna think of you every time I'm gonna look up those movies, think about you. But let's stay in touch, okay? And
Absolutely. Thank you
yeah,
so much for having me.
oh, sure. Let's keep me posting what's happening, and maybe we could do this again. We could, you know, you can tell me some other mistakes that you find that people are making, or how to escape alligators when you're kayaking and all that stuff. Which I can't even believe you do
Sounds
that.
good.
So you've seen them if you've actually seen them when you've kayaked.
I have never been face to face with one, but I have seen them from a distance. I
That's
have had friends who told me, yeah, you just swipe their nose away. No thanks. No, that
no,
I hope
no.
that never happens.
Oh yeah, I hope it never happens either. So anyway, well, thanks for your time. You have a Merry Christmas, and
Thanks,
we'll
you
talk
as
again
well.
soon. Okay, all right, take
All
care.
right. Have a wonderful one.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
thanks. Bye bye.